Start with the most shocking moment to grab attention immediately. The gunshot echoed across the empty playground at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. My daughter Emma collapsed. The HOA president, Patricia Caldwell, stood 15 feet away with her hand still extended, and my phone, hidden in my jacket pocket, had been recording everything for the last 11 minutes. I never imagined that moving to Meadowbrook Estates would be the worst decision of my life. The gated community looked perfect on paper. Manicured lawns, a state-of-the-art playground, and a community center with accessible facilities. For my daughter Emma, who has cerebral palsy and uses a wheelchair, accessibility wasn't just a luxury. It was everything. Emma was 7 years old. It's with bright hazel eyes that sparkled when she smiled and a laugh that could light up the darkest room. Her disability never defined her spirit. She was brave, curious, and more resilient than most adults I knew. The playground was her sanctuary, the one place where she felt free, where the adaptive swings gave her the sensation of flying that other children took for granted. We'd been living in Meadowbrook for exactly 43 days when Patricia Caldwell first approached me. She was the HOA president, a woman in her mid-50s with sharp features, designer sunglasses perpetually perched on her head, and an air of authority that bordered on tyrannical. She had built her reputation on enforcing every single rule in the HOA handbook, a document so thick it could double as a weapon. "Mrs. Morrison," she said that first afternoon, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "I need to speak with you about your daughter's use of the playground facilities." I was immediately on guard. Emma was sitting on the adaptive swing, her face glowing with pure joy as I gently pushed her. "Is there a problem?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. Patricia's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Several residents have expressed concerns. The playground has designated hours, and some feel that the adaptive equipment creates an, shall we say, unfortunate atmosphere for the other children." My blood ran cold. Unfortunate atmosphere? My daughter has every right to use this playground. It's a community amenity. Of course, of course. Patricia waved her hand dismissively. But perhaps during off-peak hours, say before 8 a.m. or after 7 p.m., when fewer families are present. I felt my jaw clench. Emma has physical therapy 3 times a week. She goes to school. Our schedule doesn't allow for off-peak discrimination. That's when I saw it. A flash of something dark behind Patricia's carefully maintained facade. Pure contempt. "Mrs. Morrison, I'm trying to be reasonable here. Some parents feel uncomfortable explaining differences to their children. It creates awkward situations. Then maybe those parents should teach their children about compassion instead of segregation." I shot back, my voice rising despite my best efforts to stay calm. Patricia's expression hardened. "This conversation is over, but I'd advise you to review sections 7.3 through 7.9 of the HOA regulations. Failure to comply can result in significant fines, or worse." She walked away, and her heels clicking against the pavement with an ominous rhythm that made my stomach turn. Emma, oblivious to the exchange, called out, "Higher, Mommy! Push me higher!" I forced a smile and pushed, but my hands were shaking. That night, I combed through the entire HOA handbook. Sections 7.3 through 7.9 dealt with community standards, appropriate use of facilities, and behavioral expectations. The language was deliberately vague, designed to be weaponized against anyone the board deemed undesirable. Over the next 2 weeks, the harassment escalated. Anonymous notes appeared in our mailbox. "Your kind doesn't belong here. Take your disabled brat somewhere else. This is a family community." Each one more venomous than the last. Then came the formal HOA violation notices. First, meant for Emma's wheelchair ramp, which they claim violated aesthetic guidelines despite being medically necessary. Then for our accessible van parked in our own driveway, commercial vehicle regulations. Then for the therapy equipment visible through our window, unapproved exterior modifications. Each violation came with a $500 fine. I fought every single one, attending board meetings, submitting doctor's documentation, citing the Fair Housing Act and ADA regulations. But Patricia had stacked the board with her cronies. Every appeal was denied. The fines accumulated: $2,500, $5,000, $8,000. My lawyer said we had grounds for a discrimination lawsuit, but litigation would take years and cost money I didn't have. I was a single mother working 2 jobs just to afford the mortgage in this supposedly perfect community. Emma's medical expenses already consumed most of my income. I started documenting everything: photographs, video recordings, saved every hateful message. I knew I was building a case, but I had no idea how dark things would become. The turning point came on a Thursday afternoon. Emma had just gotten home from school, excited because her teacher had praised her artwork. "Mommy, can we go to the playground? Please? Just for a little while?" How could I say no to that face? We went to the playground at 3:30 p.m., well within the designated hours. I had started carrying my phone in my jacket pocket with the video recording running whenever we visited the playground. Not paranoia, preparation. Emma was on the adaptive swing, singing a song from her favorite cartoon when Patricia appeared, but this time she wasn't alone, as she had 3 other board members with her, including Marcus Webb, the community's security coordinator, and Jennifer Hartley, the woman who'd authored most of the violation notices against us. "Mrs. Morrison," Patricia's voice was ice cold, "this is your final warning. Your daughter is in violation of community standards. You need to leave immediately." I kept my phone recording in my pocket and faced them. "Emma is using the playground during designated hours. She has every legal right to be here." "Legal rights?" Patricia laughed, a harsh, brittle sound. "This is private property. HOA rules supersede your so-called rights. You've been assessed over $10,000 in fines. Until those are paid, you and your daughter are banned from all community facilities." "You can't do that," I said, my voice shaking with anger. That's illegal discrimination based on disability." Patricia stepped closer, her face twisted with rage. "I can do whatever I want. I am the law in this community. And if you don't remove that wheelchair-bound burden from our playground right now, I'll have security forcibly remove both of you." Emma had stopped swinging. She was watching us, tears forming in her eyes. "Mommy, why is that lady mad at us?" "It's okay, sweetheart," I said, moving toward her. "We're going to—" "Don't you dare touch that equipment until we finish this conversation," Patricia snapped. That's when I saw it. Patricia reached into her designer purse, the same purse I'd seen her carry at every board meeting, every community event. But what she pulled out wasn't a phone or a document. It was a small handgun. My blood turned to ice. Everything seemed to move in slow motion. Patricia's hand was shaking, whether from rage or adrenaline, I couldn't tell. Marcus and Jennifer stepped back, their faces showing shock and confusion. "Patricia, what are you doing?" Marcus's voice was strained. "What I should have done weeks ago," Patricia said, her voice eerily calm. "Removing the problem." Time fractured into a series of crystalline moments. I could hear Emma's frightened breathing behind me. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the playground. A bird chirped somewhere in the distance, oblivious to the nightmare unfolding. "Patricia, put that away," I said, forcing my voice to remain steady despite the terror clawing at my chest. "This has gone too far. Whatever you think you're accomplishing—" "Accomplishing?" She laughed again, that same brittle sound. I'm protecting property values. I'm maintaining standards. Do you know what happens to a community when people like you move in? When disabilities and wheelchairs and therapy equipment become normalized, values plummet. 43% according to the studies I've read." "Studies?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You're talking about human beings. You're talking about children." "I'm talking about maintaining excellence." Patricia's hand tightened on the gun. "This community was built for successful families, normal families, not for people who need ramps and special equipment and accommodations that cost the rest of us money." Jennifer Hartley found her voice. "Patricia, I never agreed to this. The violations, yes, but this is—" "Shut up, Jennifer," Patricia snapped without taking her eyes off me. You've been complaining about property values for months, about how the Morrisons' modifications are bringing down the neighborhood. Well, now I'm solving the problem." My mind raced. I had to de-escalate, had to protect Emma. "Patricia, think about what you're doing. There are witnesses. Marcus and Jennifer are seeing this. You won't get away with it." "Won't I?" Patricia's smile was chilling. "Marcus works for me. Jennifer owes me for covering up her husband's affair with the pool contractor. And you? You're an unstable single mother who's been harassing me for weeks, sending threatening messages, making wild accusations. I have documentation. When security reviews the footage, they'll see me defending myself against an aggressive resident. That's when I understood. She'd planned this. The escalation, the fines, the harassment. It was all designed to create a narrative. She'd been building a case against me while I'd been building one against her. But she didn't know about my phone, recording everything, every word, every threat. "Emma, sweetheart," I said softly, not taking my eyes off Patricia. "Remember the game we practiced? The safety game?" Emma's voice was small, frightened. "The one where I count to 20 and stay very still." "That's right, baby. Can you do that for Mommy?" "Okay, Mommy." I heard her start counting quietly, her voice shaking. I took a step toward Patricia, positioning myself between her and Emma. If she was going to shoot, she'd have to go through me first. "You're not going to use that gun," I said with more confidence than I felt. "You're a successful businesswoman." "Yeah, you have too much to lose." "I have everything to lose." Patricia's composure cracked. "Do you know what I sacrificed to build this community? I invested my entire divorce settlement into developing Meadowbrook. I recruited every family here personally. I created something perfect, and you're destroying it with your presence, your demands, your disabled daughter who reminds everyone that life isn't perfect." "Life isn't perfect," I said quietly, "but that doesn't give you the right to play God." "Someone has to maintain order." Patricia was spiraling, her voice rising to a near scream. "Someone has to make the hard decisions that no one else will make. You should have left when I gave you the chance. You should have taken your daughter and found somewhere more appropriate, somewhere for people like her." Behind me, and Emma had stopped counting. "Mommy, I'm scared." Those 3 words, so innocent, so heartbreaking, seemed to trigger something in Patricia, her face contorted with rage. "Stop that whining! This is exactly what I'm talking about. Your daughter is weak, she's pathetic, and she doesn't belong in my community." She raised the gun, pointing it directly at Emma. Everything happened in seconds. I lunged forward, screaming, "No!" Marcus finally moved, reaching for Patricia's arm. Jennifer stumbled backward, and Patricia, in her rage and panic, pulled the trigger. The sound was deafening, a crack that echoed across the playground and seemed to tear through reality itself. I felt something like fire graze my shoulder. The bullet had missed its intended target, but caught me instead. I crashed into Patricia, both of us falling to the ground. And the gun skittered across the pavement. Emma was screaming. Marcus was shouting into his phone. Jennifer had collapsed to her knees, sobbing. And Patricia was underneath me, her eyes wide with shock as she realized what she'd done. "You shot me!" I gasped, clutching my shoulder. Blood seeped between my fingers, but the wound was superficial. The bullet had only grazed me. "You actually shot me." Patricia's face had gone completely white. "I didn't. I wasn't trying to." "You moved! You shouldn't have moved!" Sirens wailed in the distance. Marcus had called 911. Within minutes, the playground was swarming with police officers, paramedics, and shocked residents who'd heard the gunshot. As paramedics treated my wound, I watched police officers handcuff Patricia. She was still in shock, muttering about property values and community standards. Marcus and Jennifer were being questioned separately, their earlier complicity turning into horrified cooperation as they realized the severity of what had happened. A detective approached me as I sat on the back of an ambulance. Emma clutched in my lap, both of us wrapped in emergency blankets despite the warm afternoon. "Mrs. Morrison, I need to get your statement," she said gently. "What happened here?" I looked at Emma, then at Patricia being loaded into a police car, then back at the detective. "I have something better than a statement," I said, pulling my phone from my pocket with my uninjured hand. "I have video of everything, every threat, every word, the entire confrontation, including her admitting to premeditated intent." The detective's eyes widened. "You recorded the shooting?" "I recorded everything," I said. "Every encounter with Patricia for the past 2 weeks. I knew something bad was coming. I just didn't know it would be this bad." As I handed over my phone, I held Emma tighter. She buried her face in my neck, still trembling. "Is the mean lady gone, Mommy?" "Yes, baby," I whispered. "She's gone, and she's never coming back." 3 months later, Patricia Caldwell was sentenced to 15 years in prison for attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and a string of civil rights violations. The HOA board was dissolved. Marcus and Jennifer faced charges as accessories for their complicity in the harassment campaign. The video I'd recorded went viral, sparking national conversations about discrimination, HOA abuse of power, and the treatment of people with disabilities. And we received messages from thousands of families sharing similar stories of discrimination and harassment. Emma and I still live in Meadowbrook Estates, but it's different now. New management, new rules, and most importantly, new residents who understand that a community's strength comes from including everyone, not excluding those who are different. Every time we go to the playground now, Emma swings higher and laughs louder, and I stand nearby, no longer needing to record for protection, just watching my daughter be the brave, beautiful person she's always been. Because in the end, the truth was always on our side. We just needed the courage to document it and the strength to survive long enough to share it. That video I recorded, it became evidence in 14 other lawsuits against HOA boards across the country. Patricia Caldwell thought she could erase us, eliminate us, make us disappear. Instead, she made us impossible to ignore. Sometimes the people who try to silence you end up amplifying your voice louder than you ever could alone. My daughter taught me that disability isn't weakness, survival is strength, and we survived.